Another week, more bad news for the Blade production at MCU at this point. Why are they even continuing along with this fantasy that this movie is ever even going to get made? It seems like Mahershala Ali wants to will this movie into existence despite, going on, I believe it's 7th screenwriter now. And now the second director that was handpicked by Ali himself is out the door. So every time he picks somebody, the production just halts. They don't get the story ready, and then they have to leave to go do another project or something else. And at this point, what's the point? Like, do they need the Blade movie to come out before Secret Wars? Can we not just wait until then? I don't know why they continuously get updates on this thing. They should probably just scrap it at this point. It's basically a dead production. And, let Mahershala Ali go do his own thing. He's got something else. He's got to have something else to do with his life that would be worthwhile rather than just sitting around waiting for fucking Blade to happen. Even though I love Blade and it's probably a guaranteed moneymaker for Disney and the MCU because they got it so right the first time, not Disney or the MCU, but certainly a New Line when they did the Blade movies with Wesley Snipes. It seems like a no-brainer. The Daywalker versus vampires. The Daywalker versus a vampire god. It writes itself, but for some reason, they're like, yeah, we need to get his daughter in there. Let's make Blade be a passenger in his own movie. And it's like, what the hell are you guys doing? At this point, more talent is walking out the door, and we're sitting here going, is this Blade movie ever going to happen? It probably will, because they just won't let it die. But at this point, they probably should just let it die. The trouble surrounding Blade continues as director Yann Demange has exited the movie. This comes following Mahershala Ali picking Yann Demange to replace Bassam Tariq back in November 2022. So the search is on for a third director for the movie that has been in development since 2019. The news also follows two-time Oscar winner Mahershala Ali likely joining the Jurassic World reboot, which films soon. At this point, they're probably going to go through an entire Jurassic World production cycle. We'll get 3 of those movies. They'll reboot it a 4th fucking time, and then maybe, perhaps, they will be able to get an actual Blade movie with a script and a director and talent all together and make the goddamn thing. It's crazy. It feels like Jurassic World was like yesterday, but now that I think about it, I guess it's been 8 years? Chris Pratt Jurassic World was actually, I don't know, at the time I thought it wasn't that bad until I saw the second one. That second Jurassic Park movie, oh, that was rough. And I've heard Dominion's even worse. There's no doubt they probably need to reboot that thing, but why can't we give these things like a 10-year grace period? Once you've destroyed it and it's time to revamp the thing, let's put it on ice for 10 years, let people miss the damn thing before we start doing reboots on it. It's like this weird cycle that just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Before, you waited 20 years before you rebooted something. And then it was like maybe 10 years. And now it's, well, it failed. Time to start rebooting this sumbitch about 6 months later. But it sounds like Ali is moving on and going to be at least working on a Jurassic World reboot, which is smart. We can't just sit there and wait for this fucking Blade movie to finally happen, for Kevin Feige and everybody from Marvel Studios get off their asses and actually figure out that this isn't that difficult. Go hire an action writer, make a goddamn vampire flick, make Blade as the good guy, and let him win in the end. It's shocking how they could fumble such an easy, like, slam dunk like Blade this badly. I could see why they could mess up Thunderbolts. That would be an easy one to mess up. It's not exactly well known, not really proven. You've got a version of that with the Suicide Squad. They've done 2 of those movies. The first one started out well, but not really well remembered. The second one, even with James Gunn, didn't do well. So it is at least a concept that hasn't been proven to be super duper successful over time, but fuck it. Vampire movies have been successful, but they cannot seem to get their heads out of their asses to actually just make a pretty basic vampire flick with Blade in it being a superhero with maybe the slightest bit of connective tissue to the MCU to let you know it's still in the same universe, but he's not exactly an Avenger. It's not the hardest stuff in the world, but they will continue on. Despite all the delays and setbacks, insiders say that Marvel remains enthusiastic about getting the film in front of cameras with Ali in the title role. And all indications are Mahershala Ali is still excited to play the Daywalker. Even his attorney, Shelby Weiser, seems perplexed, recently telling The Hollywood Reporter that deal was in 2019 and they still haven't shot it, which is pretty much the craziest thing in my professional experience. And she's got like a pretty extensive list of clients that work at Hollywood. It's not like it's just Ali himself. And she's like, we signed the deal 5 years ago. They haven't even nailed a script now. We just changed screenwriters again. Don't have a director anymore. What the hell is going on here? This is not how a professional studio is supposed to work when it comes to producing movies, especially a slam dunk one like this one. And a pretty well-known award-winning actor in Ali that is getting a little bit long in the tooth. I understand black don't crack, but the dude is getting into his 50s. He's not exactly a spring flower, or certainly wasn't even when they signed the deal to begin with. By the time this movie comes around, Ali's probably going to be aged out. He's going to be playing Whistler or something. He's going to be too old for the role. It's just, it's crazy. And you see his lawyer's like, I don't know what's going on. How can this keep happening? But for some reason, Mahershala Ali really wants this to happen. I guess it was because when he was in school or college or something, like his classmates used to tell him he looked like Wesley Snipes. I don't really see it, but okay. He's not built like Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes like kind of jacked up. This dude looks pretty skinny and all, but I think the dude would probably be a good Blade. And I can understand why he would want to play Blade in the MCU, especially when they signed the deal. The MCU was the biggest thing in the world. It looks like things might be turning around with Deadpool and Wolverine. Maybe the MCU will be hot again. It would probably be cool to play a major role in there with a slam dunk character like Blade. But for some reason, perplexingly enough, Kevin Feige can just not figure this one out. And it appears to be just in production hell. Like, how many writers can you go through? And I understand you go through lots of writers and revamps and rewrites. And, you go look at, like, I think the first Toy Story might have had 5 or 6 writers. These things do happen. But you don't normally run through like 3 or 4 directors. You don't normally just sit there for 5 years with the same actor waiting for his passion project. Like, are we still waiting on Channing Tatum to do like a fucking, Gambit movie? Well, I think he moved on. Maybe it's time for Mahershala Ali to move on as well. And we can all just stop talking about this Blade movie, which should be good and should be the easiest thing in the history of the MCU to make. But they can't get their heads out of their asses. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Seemingly exasperated at the movie's inability to pick up cameras and get a move on it, Wesley Snipes himself took to his Twitter account to toss some side-eye at the folks behind Blade. Along with his shady emoji, the actor wrote, Blade, lordy, lordy, lordy. Folks still looking for the secret sauce, riding snowmobiles in traffic kind of rough. Daywalkers make it look easy, don't they? Wesley Snipes isn't the only original Blade franchise alum to cast shade of doubt and sass on the upcoming production, as his co-star from the first film, Stephen Dorff, made fun of the superhero studio for allegedly making the vampire flick PG, as all 3 of Snipes-led productions were hit with an R for copious amounts of violence and language and other things. And it's bad when Wesley Snipes, who, he's had a rough decade. Maybe it's even longer than that probably at this point. He's had a lot of legal troubles, not exactly on the top of the world, but he's even looking at the MCU and fucking Blade and like, man, you guys are fucking stupid. You cannot get your heads out of your asses. This ain't that difficult. It's just a fucking vampire movie. Acknowledge there are vampires in the MCU, which ain't all that hard. There's certainly enough vampire villains and all that kind of stuff. Oh, I guess Morbius, the good vampire guy, or sort of good, sometimes good, sometimes bad, is already over in the Sony universe. But it's like, this isn't rocket surgery. You know what I mean? This should be the easiest thing in the world. And even Stephen Dorff, man, I haven't seen him since, was there a movie called Deuces? I think there was a movie called Deuces with him and, I don't remember, Brad Renfro? Is that his name? I think it was him and Brad Renfro. It was like a 1950s or 60s era movie or something. I haven't seen Stephen Dorff in so long. Apparently he's in a TV show or something that I'm completely unaware of. But even he's making fun of it. He's like, why are you making a rated PG frickin' Blade movie? You're already starting at a place of failure. People don't go to Blade for PG action. They come for the rated R stuff. They're looking for blood and gore and violence and all that kind of great stuff that comes with a vampire action flick. Why would you even want to make this PG? And although it does appear Deadpool and Wolverine is going to do very, very well, and we'll talk about that in the next day or two. So maybe they will make it rated R. And if they make it rated R, guess what they're going to have to do? Hire another writer, do another script rewrite, probably hire another director. Maybe they can bring in Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino on a Blade movie would be phenomenal. That would be dream casting. You know what I mean? They've talked about Tarantino doing an MCU movie. It feels like Blade could be the one. But this thing is never happening. If it was going to happen, it would have already happened by now. They've announced, I think, 3 release dates for it. They've never shot a single frame of footage. They don't have a script yet. They're on their 7th writer. They don't have a director anymore. They have no idea or clue on how to do a Blade movie. Yeah, and I do feel bad for Mahershala Ali. You know, he wants the movie to happen. He's excited about it. He wants to be the Daywalker. But the Daywalker, I just don't think was meant to be for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The character is probably too fucking cool for Kevin Feige and his legion of dorks at Marvel Studios. They just can't get their head around. There's a really cool black superhero character in the MCU, but he's not going to really be into all the stuff that's with the culture. He's just going to be a vampire slayer. We got to do something else. Let's bring his daughter into it. Let's make him not the focal point of the movie. Maybe he can be an absentee dad or something stupid like that. Remember when they brought Whistler's daughter into Blade Trinity? Not exactly a good idea. They've already proven that's fucking stupid. I was so excited for Blade Trinity 2. We were going to finally see Blade fight Dracula. And the only good things, I guess, are Ryan Reynolds as Hannibal Caine or whatever, and Triple H's weird vampire dog. Other than that, the movie sucks. Or maybe Parker Posey. Maybe that's the other thing that was good about Blade Trinity. You know what wasn't good about it? Whistler's daughter and her whole like group of D-list, lame-ass wannabe vampire slayers. We got the tech guy and we got the blind chick. Oh, God. That thing sucked. But at least they fucking made it. They made it on time. They made it when they were supposed to. It just wasn't very good. This Blade movie is fucking dead. They're never going to make it. I don't know why they keep hiring new people for it. Like, are they contractually obligated to keep this thing in production until Mahershala Ali himself says, you know what, fuck it, I'm out? That's what he probably should have done by now. I think if he listened to his lawyer, that's what he would do. He'd be like, you know what, I am not waiting anymore because this has been absolute insanity on the part of Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios. If you'd like more talk surrounding Marvel Comics Cinematic Universe, movies and comic books and all that kind of stuff, geek culture in general, that's kind of where we live in, but we certainly are comic book centric. And you haven't checked out Think Critical Patreon, you are missing out. There's a link on the video description, and we got podcasts for days, son.